What is going on, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice Pacers. Guys, it happened. Game 7 in the Garden. The first time all series that an opponent lost at home, and the Pacers took care of business, went into the Garden, Game 7 as the underdog, and went in and beat the New York Knicks 130-109. The Indiana Pacers will now be heading to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a decade. And guys, I mean, what more can we say? I mean, this is phenomenal what the Pacers have been able to accomplish in this series. I even made a tweet about it. Like, I almost don't even care what happens next series because you're facing the quote unquote best team in the NBA in this next series, and you're fully expecting to lose the series. But again, as I said, guys, the Indiana Pacers were not expected to be at this spot where they are now. This team in 2 years ago won 25 games and has now made its case for the Eastern Conference Finals. And after bringing in all these new players, Tyrese Halliburton finally getting it done, and Pascal Siakam coming in, doing everything he needed to do to be able to make things work. I mean, this is just a phenomenal series by the Indiana Pacers, and we will talk more about what's to come, but we can focus only on this series right now. Again, guys, spare me the Knicks having all of these injuries. Tyrese Halliburton at the beginning of the series and was not at 100%. And obviously losing Mathurin the entire offseason or the entire season, that has hurt the Pacers. I know that the New York Knicks have had some unfortunate circumstances when it has come to their players and injuries. But I will say again, the Indiana Pacers we're winning with those players on the court, and we're winning without them on the court. So spare me. The Pacers shouldn't be happy about this. If the Knicks had bench players that could actually do some of the things that needed to be done, maybe some of these players wouldn't be getting hurt. It's not the Pacers' fault that the Knicks players just keep getting hurt. Okay. So again, congrats to the Knicks on a great season. They got a bright future ahead of them. No doubt about it. You got some really amazing players in Jalen Brunson. Julius Randle is going to come back next year. DiVincenzo is a beast. Josh Hart, a warrior out there. He just wasn't exactly who he needed to be in this series because of the injuries. So it was a battle of attrition, and the Pacers won it out. And that is ultimately what won this series. Is the Pacers, they just wore the Knicks out. Honestly, they played harder, they played faster, they played tougher, and ultimately ended up with the Pacers coming out on top. And for this game specifically, I mean, the Indiana Pacers set an NBA record in a Game 7 for the highest field goal percentage of any Game 7 and an NBA playoff game. It might even just have been an NBA playoff game in general at 67%. So just to give you the understanding of why the Indiana Pacers won this game, just because, again, the shooting, the Pacers had it from the get up, man. They had it from the get up. They just never lost it. The Pacers in every quarter in this game scored more points than the Knicks. Pacers had climbed out to an early 12-point lead in that first quarter, up by 15 at half, up by 17 going into the fourth quarter. And then obviously the Knicks just missing Anubwe, missing Jalen Brunson after he fractures his hand. they just had no answer. No matter what they did, there just wasn't enough to be able to slow them down, especially when the Pacers were shooting the ball the way that they did. Let's go ahead and hop into the stats here, guys, for this game 7. Again, huge discrepancy amongst this. I mean, the Pacers shot 25% better from the floor than the Knicks did. Knicks shot 42.5%. Pacers shot 67%. Even shot 17% better from 3. We actually shot 54% from 3-point range, 37% for the Knicks. So again, the Pacers efficient on both in both ways shooting. Wasn't a great day from the free throw line for us, obviously, but the New York Knicks once again got 11 more free throws than the Indiana Pacers did. Again, I saw it coming. I knew there were a couple of fouls in that game at certain points where, especially on Ben Shepherd, where I'm like, dude, that is straight up crap, dude. But it is what it is. There wasn't much you could do about it. The free throw line was going to be what it is. Pacers did out-rebound the Knicks today by 5. Amazingly enough, the Pacers had just as many assists in this game as they did rebounds. The Pacers had 33 rebounds and 33 assists, which is absolutely insane. Phenomenal. I think, again, we're the only team that has had 30-plus assists in every single game this year, if I'm not mistaken. The Pacers just, again, are just so good at moving the basketball. And it helps so much when you're trying to move the ball around against the Knicks. And then the steals had 7 steals, 9 blocks versus the Knicks with 5 steals, 2 blocks. The Pacers did have it ended up having 14 total turnovers on the day. Only had 3 less points off of turnovers than the Knicks did, so it didn't end up counting for much. Ironically enough, the Knicks actually had more fast break points today than the Pacers did, which is absolutely insane. But again, another thing, the Pacers dominated in the paint, 52 points to 38. And again, guys, the numbers tell part of the story, but I mean, again, what the Indiana Pacers did, right? I don't think a lot of people are going to give them enough credit for what they've done in the fact that this is a Pacers team. A lot of it is brand new. I mean, a bunch of these guys have been in the league for a few years now, but Siakam's not been with this team more than half a year. And Halliburton is just now coming into his own. He's still young. He's 24. And Miles Turner coming into this season was the only guy with any real playoff experience going into this year. And then you bring this NBA champion and Pascal Siakam over, and Halliburton's getting his first taste of what the playoffs are like. First game 7 for most of these guys outside of Siakam. And, you know, being in the environment of Madison Square Garden, where, again, the Knicks hadn't lost. I don't know if they lost in the first series against Philadelphia at home, but that's been an insanely tough place to play all season against the Knicks, even if they were banged up. To go into that environment, as loud and crazy as it was, all eyes on you. You're the second youngest team in the NBA against one of the more older veteran teams in the NBA. And you go out there and do exactly what you were supposed to do in this game, and you dominated from the very beginning. You set the tone, you set the pace, you had the physicality, and that's how you win these games in these big moments, is you show you want it more than the other guy. And they did do that. So I don't care if the Knicks were at a disadvantage. I don't care from the injury standpoint. The Knicks, First of all, the Pacers had it the first game cheated out of a win there for them, or at least a chance to have won that game. Everyone knows it. The NBA even admitted it, that it was a botched ending to that game. So again, we're willing to let that one slide. The Pacers figured it out, even despite being down 0-2, still found a way to win this series. And that says a lot for a team that didn't have much playoff experience going into this series. And this is what they were able to show for it. And now you're in the Eastern Conference Finals. The amount of good things that can come of that for this team moving forward is so huge. Now let's go into the individual stats here. Pascal Siakam, 37 minutes tonight, had the most minutes of anyone on the floor today. 20 points, shot just over 50% from the floor, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block. He was definitely much more aggressive today. Actually didn't have the most shots of anyone on the floor today. Did have the second most, and it was phenomenal to see him set the pace and establish that mid-range shot. That mid-range shot was unbelievable today. Next player, Aaron Naismith. 19 points on the day. A perfect 8 of 8 from the floor. Aaron Naismith, what more can you say about this freaking dude, man? 4 rebounds, 1 assist, a steal, a plus 13 on the day. This guy plays with so much heart and so much passion. I mean, he is just such a phenomenal player, and has offensively gotten so much better throughout these playoffs. Got more and more comfortable with scoring and being more aggressive offensively as the series went on, which was fantastic for him. Miles Turner, 17 points on the day, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 4 blocks. Again, establishing himself on the inside, shooting over 60% from the floor. Again, just a phenomenal game from Miles Turner. Didn't need to do a ton offensively, but he was extremely efficient in the way that he did it. Nembhard, again, just a phenomenal game once again. 20 points as well from Andrew Nembhard, which is, it's funny once again, guys, that the lowest scoring pacer today from the starters was Miles Turner with 17, which is awesome, by the way. But Nembhard, 20 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, shot 80% from the floor. Nembhard, who had the tough task of guarding the point guards, guarding the main guy with the ball at most of the times. I mean, Nembhard really had to go out there and was given that daunting task. Struggled early in the series, but really started getting comfortable after that late shot in game 3 that allowed the Pacers to get their first win. Tyrese Halliburton, I mean, he has completely changed the narrative of himself from the Halliburton we saw after the All-Star break to right at the beginning of this series. In that Milwaukee series, very little did we see Halliburton do anything good. Very little of anything. At almost no point during that stretch, that 3-month stretch almost, did we see Halliburton go and establish himself. He looked like a shell of himself. And now in this series, when all the eyes were on you and you realized that you needed to be that guy, Halliburton got his mojo back, and he has the confidence that we saw from when he was early on in the season when the Pacers were winning these big games in the regular season. Today, Halliburton, 33 minutes, 26 points, a plus 21. That was tied for best on the team today. 4 rebounds, 6 assists, a steal, and a block. also had shot over 60% from the floor as well. So this was a guy, and shot 6 of 12 from 3-point range. So this guy was on it. I mean, Halliburton had found his groove. He was on it tonight. And I love this Tyrese Halliburton. If we get this Halliburton in every series going forward, then this we can live with. We can play with this Halliburton. Going to the bench here once again, Obi Toppin, 15 minutes today. Some of the fewest minutes, actually, I think he's gotten throughout this series. Only 3 points on the day. Didn't have a fantastic night shooting, but did have 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and a block. Again, didn't really have to do a whole lot. Jackson, 10 minutes today. Actually had 9 points, a rebound, and an assist. Shot 3 of 3 from the floor. Jackson was very underrated in this series. I mean, he provided a lot of quality minutes out there off the bench for the Pacers. He was able to be an enforcer and be an extra body in there that the Knicks simply had no answer for when he was actually on the floor. TJ McConnell, most minutes off the bench. Actually, the second most minutes off the bench today. I apologize. Ben Shepherd actually had the most with 25. Had 4 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. That was Shepherd, 2 of 3 shooting. So it didn't have a great shooting day. Didn't really feel like it needed to. TJ McConnell, though, 24 minutes, 12 points, shot 67%, or actually shot higher than that, actually shot 75% from the floor. 2 rebounds, 7 assists, was actually the leading assist guy today. Had a steal and a block as well. TJ McConnell, again, the annoying little shit, as they called him, was dominating this series, put this team on his back. He is that dog, dude. He is a dog, and that dude deserves so much credit for what the Pacers have been able to do throughout the playoffs. He has been phenomenal. He has been the sixth man. He is that guy off the bench. He has been the best bench player of anyone in the entire NBA playoffs so far, and I put my bank account on that. So thank you to these guys for being able to do this. Again, guys, I mean, this is just such a phenomenal game for the New York Knicks and the Pacers. I mean, this was a great series, I should say. Just really, again, it came down to attrition. You had a bunch of guys on the New York Knicks that just kept getting injured, and they just couldn't hang with it. And it ended up hurting them in the long run, man. I mean, Jalen Brunson, again, fracturing his left hand during this game. Did play for 29 minutes, so he did play up into the third quarter. But again, only had 17 points in those 30 minutes. Shot only 38% from the floor. Again, Brunson's weird because, yes, he's been scoring all these points. And early in the series, it was so evident that he was so consistent. But when he got injured in, I think it was that game 2, he just has looked off since then. Because he hasn't been consistent. Again, he's scoring all these points, but he's also shooting less than 40% from the floor. And that's not going to really help you much when you have a team in the Pacers that can score at an alarming rate. But again, nobody can say anything about how great Jalen Brunson was this, even in this series, in these playoffs in general. What he was doing was Michael Jordan-esque with his scoring. Josh Hart's 37 minutes, only shot 3 of 9 from the floor, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals. Josh Hart, again, he did a bunch of good things in this series, but when it came to the fact that he was getting injured and his body was finally wearing out, and he just wasn't quite the same player after that. Hartenstein with 30 minutes, didn't score a single point, which is so odd. You know, it is such an odd thing for me to say for Hartenstein there. Anumboy, again, he tried to play today with that. I think it was a hamstring, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he tried to play, just wasn't quite able to make it work. And DiVincenzo, 41 minutes today, actually was the guy for the New York Knicks, scored 39 points today, was shooting 60% from three. I mean, the guy was on it today. Had me very nervous for sure. Outside of that, I mean, McBride played 40 minutes in this game, only had 8 points, shot 4-14 from the field. Burks, I mean, give Burks credit too. 27 minutes, had 26 points, 8 of 13 from the floor. So, you know, outside of DiVincenzo and Burks, there really wasn't a lot of quality scoring wise from anyone. And, you know, the Knicks, even their defense for the Knicks was not great. Even early on, you could tell like they weren't getting back quickly enough. They weren't getting in defensive position quick enough. And the Pacers were able to just get a whole bunch of really good. We're able to just get a bunch of really good shots up because of the lack of just basically effort on the defensive end from the Knicks. So tough series for the Knicks, but I mean, again, guys, the Indiana Pacers did what they had to do. They figured it out, and now the Indiana Pacers will play the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals on Tuesday is game 1 in Boston. So we'll have more stuff up there for that, guys, but thank you so much for all the support. Let us know your thoughts and your feelings on the Pacers making it to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in a decade. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for all the support. And as always, go Pacers.